Hello, and welcome to Sleepy Science Facts. Tonight, we're stepping into the quietly fascinating world of raccoons. Animals many of us assume we already understand. Creatures we glimpse in backyards, along roadsides, or slipping through the edges of our cities. And yet, beneath that familiar masked face lies a story of intelligence, adaptability, and surprising depth that most people rarely pause to notice. This is a story about curiosity that survives almost anywhere, about minds shaped by problem-solving, memory, and persistence, about a creature that thrives at the boundary between wilderness and human life, learning our rhythms, studying our habits, and quietly rewriting the rules of survival. The more you discover about raccoons, the more they challenge what we think we know about animal intelligence and about nature itself. If you enjoy these gentle nighttime explorations, you're welcome to like, subscribe, or leave a thought below. It helps other sleepy minds find their way here, one quiet evening at a time. But for now, there is nothing you need to do except relax. Let your body soften. Let your breathing slow. Allow your thoughts to loosen their grip as we explore these remarkable animals together. Let's begin. Raccoons can solve complex puzzles faster than even some of the smartest dogs. Place a raccoon in front of a new challenge, and it doesn't simply guess. It investigates. It studies the edges, tests a latch, adjusts its grip, and shifts strategies if nothing moves. What makes this remarkable is how quickly they learn. They identify what matters and ignore what doesn't. In controlled studies, raccoons have worked through multi-step tasks that require parts to be moved in the correct order. They use both front paws almost like hands, maintaining a focus that surprises even experienced researchers. In the wild, this skill is essential. Food is rarely sitting out in the open. It hides beneath bark, inside shells, behind barriers, under lids. A raccoon that can defeat an obstacle gains access to meals other animals never reach. That problem-solving ability is one of the main reasons they thrive in so many environments. Their front paws remain extraordinarily sensitive because they often forage in water. Raccoons don't rely on vision alone. Their hands are their primary way of interpreting the world. They search in shallow streams, ponds, and muddy banks where eyesight becomes unreliable. The skin of their front paws is packed with touch receptors, allowing them to detect texture and shape with subtle movements. Interestingly, water actually increases the sensitivity of the skin. When wet, their touch becomes even sharper. That's why raccoons often reach and feel even when prey is hidden. They can locate crayfish beneath rocks, uncover insects under damp leaves, and identify shells buried in silt. This isn't careless splashing. It's deliberate sensing. Their paws sort food from debris by feel, saving time and energy. Once you realize how much information they gather through touch, their behavior makes perfect sense. They're not randomly grabbing. They're reading a dark environment with their hands. A raccoon can remember how to solve a problem for years after learning it once. Some animals require constant repetition to maintain a skill. Raccoons can retain lessons for a remarkably long time. After discovering how to retrieve a reward from a specific challenge, they may return years later and repeat the solution with little hesitation. In the wild, that kind of memory is powerful. It means a productive feeding spot remains valuable long after the first visit. It means a safe path through a dangerous area stays useful. It means a negative experience can permanently alter future choices. Long-term memory also shapes their interactions with humans. If a raccoon learns that a particular yard consistently offers food, it may return season after season. If it encounters a dangerous trap, it may avoid similar setups later on. This is why quick fixes often fail. You're not dealing with an animal that forgets. You're dealing with one that remembers. That iconic black mask may serve more than a decorative purpose. It could help reduce glare and improve night vision. Night is not always truly dark. Moonlight reflects off water, snow, wet pavement, and pale rooftops. Glare can blur detail and make movement harder to track. Dark fur around the eyes may reduce that glare, increasing contrast and clarity. Better contrast makes it easier to detect the ripple of a fish, the edge of a branch, or the faint motion of an insect. The mask may also assist communication between raccoons. Facial signals are easier to read when strong light and dark contrasts define the features, especially in low light where subtle expressions might otherwise vanish. Many people think the mask is simply a charming pattern. It may actually support the raccoon's entire nocturnal lifestyle. When survival depends on tiny visual clues, even fur patterns can make a difference. Raccoons thrive in cities because they quickly learn human routines. Cities might appear hostile, but raccoons interpret them as structured food landscapes. They recognize patterns. Trash appears on certain nights. Restaurants close at predictable hours. Parks empty after dusk. Delivery doors stay open briefly. A raccoon that understands these rhythms can reduce risk and increase reward. They also learn where people rarely look. They move along fence lines, hedges, rooftops, and drainage channels that keep them hidden. Urban life rewards flexibility, and raccoons are built for flexibility. If one feeding site changes, they switch to another. If a neighborhood becomes busier, they adjust their timing. When you see the same raccoon at the same corner night after night, it isn't wandering randomly. It's following a schedule humans unintentionally create. In a city, intelligence can become the best camouflage. They can open latches, twist knobs, and defeat many so-called animal-proof containers. Most animal-proof designs assume animals push or pull in straightforward ways. Raccoons don't. They grip, twist, pry, and lift. They stabilize an object with one paw while manipulating it with the other. They feel how a mechanism works and then repeat the precise motion that releases it. That's why a container that stops a dog may fail against a raccoon. It's not brute strength, it's coordination. They also learn socially. Once one raccoon figures out a specific latch design, others nearby may begin attempting the same method. A whole street might suddenly find trash scattered again, not because raccoons evolved overnight, but because a solution spread. If you want to outsmart them, you need more than a simple barrier. You need something that challenges both mind and hand. Raccoons climb down trees head first by rotating their powerful hind feet. Most animals descend backward because their feet are optimized for climbing upward. Raccoons have a unique advantage. Their hind feet can rotate far enough to grip bark securely while facing downward. This allows them to climb down headfirst with control and precision. Descending this way keeps their eyes focused on their path. They can select stable footholds, avoid weak branches, and respond instantly if danger appears below. It also means they can reach safety in trees and then return to the ground quickly without awkward repositioning. When you see a raccoon descending a trunk like it's walking down a ladder, you're witnessing a body designed for three-dimensional travel. It isn't clumsy, it's engineered for versatility. They eat almost anything, from insects and fruit to mussels and corn. Raccoons succeed because they don't depend on a single food source. If berries disappear, they turn to insects. If insects decline, they forage for shellfish. If wild food becomes scarce, they explore farms and gardens. This dietary flexibility allows them to live in forests, wetlands, suburbs, and city centers. It also explains why raccoon behavior differs from place to place. A coastal raccoon may patrol shorelines. A rural raccoon may focus on fields. A city raccoon may navigate alleyways and bins. This isn't randomness, it's strategy. They choose what is most accessible and energy efficient. That flexibility also makes them important ecological players. They control certain pest populations, disperse some seeds, and compete with other species for resources. When you can eat almost anything, you can survive almost anywhere. Mother raccoons run a disciplined household, teaching survival step by step. A young raccoon is not born knowing how to navigate the world. It undergoes a long apprenticeship under its mother's guidance. She selects safe resting sites. She leads her kits to food. She controls their pace, preventing reckless wandering. As they grow, she gradually introduces more difficult tasks: climbing, foraging, exploring, all under careful supervision. They also learn boundaries. A sharp warning sound can freeze a kit in place instantly. Over time, independence grows, but early lessons shape everything. This flexible education is one reason raccoons succeed across diverse environments. The mother doesn't teach a fixed script. She teaches how to learn. By the time the young separate, they possess a toolkit of behaviors. They know how to investigate, adapt, and persist. That inheritance is powerful. Raccoons are wild animals, yet their curiosity can make them appear fearless. Curiosity sometimes resembles bravery, especially when an animal approaches human spaces. Raccoons investigate unfamiliar objects, new smells, unexpected sounds. In cities, that curiosity can bring them onto porches, into garages, near back doors. But boldness is not friendliness. It's opportunism. A raccoon remains a wild animal with sharp teeth and strong defensive instincts if cornered. Their curiosity can also create conflict. If they discover a reliable food source, they may return repeatedly, even if it frustrates people. That's why boundaries matter. Do not feed them. Do not attempt to touch them. Do not assume they behave like pets. If you respect their distance, you can observe something remarkable. An animal willing to test its environment, learn quickly, and adjust without hesitation. The name raccoon comes from an Algonquian term meaning one who scratches with hands. It's less poetic than it sounds. It's observational. Long before formal wildlife biology, people noticed how this animal interacted with the world. It doesn't simply bite and swallow. It grips, pulls, peels, scratches. It reaches into bark for insects. It rakes through leaves for beetles. It searches with fingers as much as with its nose. Even its feeding style looks deliberate, more handling than devouring. That hand-first lifestyle was so distinctive it became embedded in the name itself, and it hints at their adaptability. A creature capable of manipulating objects can access food hidden behind shells, husks, and barriers. When you hear the origin of the word, you're hearing centuries of quiet observation from people who lived alongside raccoons long before modern science described them. Their scientific name once reflected early confusion. When European naturalists first attempted classification, they relied heavily on appearance. Raccoons have dog-like faces, sturdy builds, and confident gaits. Early naming placed them near dogs. The label persisted even after deeper anatomical comparisons revealed they are not dogs at all. That mistake is instructive. It shows how science evolves, beginning with guesswork refined by evidence. The name remains like a fossil from an earlier stage of understanding. It's also a reminder of how easily familiarity can mislead us. If you think you understand a raccoon simply because it looks familiar, history suggests caution. Raccoons belong to their own family, not the bear family, as many assume. They share certain traits with bears: climbing ability, fur texture, body shape. But genetically, they form their own distinct group, alongside relatives that look nothing like bears. Recognizing this helps explain their unusual mix of traits. They have the confidence of a larger mammal combined with the flexibility of a small omnivore. They are not scaled-down bears. They are specialists in living between habitats: forest edges, wetlands, farms, suburbs, city blocks. When you stop trying to categorize them as something else, their behavior becomes clearer. They are most active at night, but hunger can override schedule. Night activity reduces risk. Many predators and many humans are less active after dark, but raccoons are practical. If food becomes scarce, safety rules bend. In competitive environments, raccoons may shift their activity to avoid rivals. During droughts, they may visit water sources in daylight. In cold snaps, they may begin foraging earlier in the evening. This flexibility is another survival tool. They are not ruled entirely by instinct. They respond to weather, scarcity, and opportunity. That's why they sometimes surprise you. You may assume midday is safe from encounter. The raccoon doesn't consider your expectations. It considers calories and risk. When hunger increases, timing becomes negotiable. Their hearing is sharp enough to detect the faintest movements in dry leaves. In the wild, sound is often the first signal that something is happening. For a raccoon, a subtle rustle can mean prey, danger, or opportunity. Small animals moving through leaf litter create delicate vibrations, and raccoons can lock onto them with surprising accuracy. This ability allows them to hunt without relying on sight. It also helps them avoid threats. A soft footstep, a shifting branch, a distant bark. Any of these can trigger an immediate pause and change of direction. You can sometimes see a raccoon freeze, lift its head, and angle its ears as though the air itself just whispered information. In darkness, hearing becomes a kind of map. It reveals where water flows, where insects buzz, where other animals are feeding. In busy urban areas, this skill becomes even more important. Cities are loud. Engines, doors, distant traffic. Noise is constant. Yet raccoons learn to filter that soundscape, focusing only on what truly matters. The world is noisy. They listen for meaning. Their sense of touch guides them even more than sight. In dense brush, inside drainage pipes, along muddy banks, vision can fail. Touch does not. Raccoons rely on their paws to judge whether something is edible before bringing it to their mouths. They probe crevices for hidden insects. They separate shells from soft food without seeing either clearly. This is why their movements can appear slow and deliberate. They are not hesitating. They are gathering information. Imagine identifying objects inside a bag without looking. That is an ordinary part of a raccoon's life. Touch also supports safe movement. Feeling a branch before shifting weight reduces falls. Testing a ledge before stepping prevents miscalculation. For humans, darkness feels like limitation. For raccoons, it is normal operating conditions. Their hands continue working when their eyes might guess. Raccoons can run surprisingly fast when startled. At rest, they may appear round and unhurried. But when danger appears, they can sprint with impressive speed and change direction abruptly. This burst speed is crucial. Dogs, vehicles, larger predators. Threats appear suddenly. A quick acceleration can mean survival. What makes it even more impressive is how they use terrain. They cut through brush, slip beneath fences, climb without hesitation. Their goal is not to win a straight race across open ground. It is to reach safety, a tree, a gap, a rooftop. Seen up close, the animal that looked clumsy at a distance becomes controlled and athletic. Speed is simply another hidden tool. They are strong swimmers and can cross rivers when needed. Water is not always an obstacle. Sometimes it becomes a pathway. Raccoons swim with steady strokes, keeping their heads high, opening access to new feeding areas. A creek can lead to shellfish. An island can offer nests. A shoreline can hold food unavailable inland. Swimming also provides escape. If pursued, slipping into water can quickly create distance. In human landscapes, canals and drainage systems become travel routes rather than barriers. What appears to be separation may function as connection. When we build water channels, raccoons sometimes interpret them as highways. Raccoons often live alone, yet tolerate neighbors in rich environments. They are not pack animals. Most adults forage independently, especially where food is widely scattered. But when an area offers abundant resources, a park, orchard, or waterfront, multiple raccoons may share space with minimal conflict. Instead of constant fighting, a quiet tolerance develops. It is not friendship, it is economics. Defending a resource that continually replenishes may cost more energy than sharing it loosely. Behavior adjusts according to conditions. Scarcity sharpens competition. Abundance softens it. Raccoons respond accordingly. In winter, they conserve energy by resting for long stretches. They do not hibernate completely, but cold changes their behavior. Movement becomes costly. Food becomes scarce. So they shift into energy-saving mode. They remain in sheltered dens longer, sleeping for extended periods. During warmer breaks, they may forage briefly, then return to rest. This strategy allows survival without full seasonal shutdown. Winter sightings may become rare, not because raccoons vanish, but because they wait. A good den becomes critical, blocking wind, reducing heat loss, offering safety when the landscape provides little reward. Winter is not a season of exploration. It is a season of patience. A raccoon's thick, ringed tail aids balance while climbing. The tail is not decoration. It acts as a stabilizer. When climbing narrow branches or leaping gaps, the tail helps control the body's center of mass. Small adjustments prevent slips. During jumps, it keeps alignment steady for clean landings. In vertical environments, trees, fences, roof edges, balance is survival. A fall can mean injury. Injury can mean death. Watch closely, and you'll notice the tail moving like a tightrope walker's pole. Subtle, constant, essential. They can drop from surprising heights and land running. Raccoons take calculated risks. When descending quickly is the safest option, they position their bodies to absorb impact using flexible joints and instinctive control. Young raccoons practice climbing and falling repeatedly, learning limits early. If threatened on a rooftop or high branch, dropping down and continuing movement can prevent being trapped. Height becomes advantage, not liability. It is athletic insurance built into their design. Raccoons use a wide range of vocal sounds to communicate. Though often thought of as silent night wanderers, raccoons possess a rich vocal toolkit. They produce contact calls between family members, warning sounds signaling danger, aggressive growls during disputes, and softer murmurs in calmer interactions. Sound allows coordination without visibility, which is especially valuable in darkness and dense cover. A sharp growl may signal territory. A chitter may keep kits connected to their mother. What might sound like chaos to human ears often carries specific meaning. Once you realize raccoons communicate extensively, they no longer seem like solitary thieves. They become social animals navigating relationships through sound. Kits chirp and squeal intensely so mothers can locate them. Young raccoons are vulnerable. Their urgent cries cut through wind and background noise, acting like lifeline signals. A mother can pinpoint her kit even when it is hidden in thick vegetation. These sounds are not random. They are survival mechanisms. A separated kit calls. The mother responds swiftly. It is the sound of vulnerability demanding attention, and often receiving it. Mothers relocate dens if danger or parasites appear. A den remains safe only while conditions remain favorable. If a predator discovers it, if parasites build up, if human activity increases nearby, the mother moves her kits. She carries them one by one to a safer location. This relocation requires planning and strength. Kits are small and fragile, yet mothers manage the transfer carefully, sometimes repeating the process multiple times in a season. Home is not fixed. It is wherever safety can be maintained. Raccoons may den in hollow trees, attics, chimneys, or storm drains. They do not insist on natural hollows alone. They choose shelter that works. A hollow tree offers warmth and concealment. In cities, chimneys and attics can mimic those conditions. Storm drains provide stable temperatures and hidden entrances. Versatility explains their widespread success. From a raccoon's perspective, a city is full of caves and tunnels. Humans may see structures. Raccoons see shelter. They line their dens with leaves, grass, and any material that helps retain warmth. A hollow space alone is not enough. Without insulation, a den becomes a cold container. Raccoons gather dry leaves, soft grasses, and other plant matter that trap air and reduce heat loss. This bedding serves two purposes. It conserves warmth for adults, and it protects the young. Kits require steady heat and cushioning during early development. A carefully prepared nest increases survival without changing the structure of the den itself. It is a quiet form of engineering. The same space becomes safer simply by choosing the right materials. Season also influences maintenance. When bedding becomes damp or soiled, it may be replaced. These small adjustments are daily investments in resilience. For an animal that spends long hours resting in cold weather, insulation is not comfort. It is life support. Raccoons are famous for washing their food, but the behavior is usually about sensing. The image of a raccoon rinsing its meal like a careful chef is charming, but the reality is more practical. What looks like washing is often an extension of touch. When food is handled in water, its texture becomes easier to interpret. Grit loosens. Shell fragments shift. Surface details become clearer beneath wet fingers. Water is not soap. It is a sensory enhancer. This explains why raccoons sometimes perform the behavior even when food is already clean. The goal is not hygiene. The goal is information. Is this edible? Is it worth chewing? Is it safe? They use the environment as a tool to sharpen their own perception. Water can actually increase the sensitivity of their paws. Here is something even more remarkable. Moist skin changes how tactile receptors respond. Wetness can heighten sensitivity, almost like adjusting the volume on a dial. For a raccoon hunting in darkness, that increased sensitivity matters. It can distinguish hard shell from soft plant, detect hidden prey with fewer attempts, avoid sharp debris without seeing it. This is one reason raccoons seek water even when they are not thirsty. They are not just drinking, they are enhancing performance. A stream becomes more than a location. It becomes a sensory amplifier. Once you understand that, the behavior stops seeming quirky. It reveals adaptation at a refined level. They are omnivores, so their diet changes constantly with the seasons. Seasonal change tests every wild animal. What is abundant in spring may vanish in late summer. What is plentiful in autumn may disappear in winter. Raccoons respond by shifting their menu. When fruit ripens, they take advantage. When insects surge, they focus on protein. When waterways provide prey, they concentrate along banks. This flexibility spreads risk. One poor food source rarely means starvation because alternatives exist. It also explains why raccoons sometimes seem to disappear from certain areas. They are not gone. They are following food cycles. They track what is available, not what is familiar. In spring, they target eggs, frogs, and fresh shoots. Spring marks renewal. After winter scarcity, wetlands fill with life. Eggs are nutrient-dense and relatively easy to carry away. Frogs reappear along water edges. Tender shoots provide quick plant energy. This is not random grazing. It is a strategic shift aligned with what the landscape offers first. Spring feeding often brings raccoons into contact with many habitats at once: shoreline, woodland edge, open meadow. The food web awakens, and raccoons respond immediately. In summer, berries, insects, and garden crops dominate. Summer is abundance. Berries ripen in waves. Insects multiply in large numbers. Gardens provide soft fruits and vegetables that are easy to harvest. Raccoons learn which patches peak first and revisit them at optimal times. Their routes can become remarkably consistent during this season. Efficient summer feeding helps build reserves for colder months. This is also when conflict with humans often increases, as gardens and compost piles become irresistible. But from the raccoon's perspective, summer is simply opportunity at its height. In autumn, they gorge on nuts and fruit to build fat reserves. Autumn is preparation. Nuts and late fruit contain dense calories. Raccoons intensify feeding, not out of greed, but out of necessity. Fat becomes insulation, stored fuel, insurance against winter scarcity. When you see a raccoon focused on fallen acorns or fruit, you are watching survival banking. Autumn feeding reduces risk later. It is energy converted into security. In winter, they may raid leftovers near human spaces. As natural food declines, human environments become more tempting. Bins, sheds, pet food left outside. These can provide reliable calories when the wild pantry closes. Winter raids are not mischief. They are adaptation. Certainty becomes valuable when options shrink. This is why winter encounters can feel sudden. Wildlife does not vanish in cold months. It recalibrates. Raccoons can eat poisonous toads, though they prefer safer prey. Some toads produce toxins that deter many predators. Raccoons are among the few that can sometimes handle such prey. However, this does not mean they seek danger. They still choose easier, safer options first. The ability simply expands what counts as food during difficult periods. It reduces competition. It increases resilience. They are not reckless eaters. They are practical ones. Sometimes they hunt patiently beside water. Not every hunt involves rummaging. At times, a raccoon will crouch quietly along a bank, listening for ripples and movement. When the moment arrives, the strike is swift. This sit-and-wait strategy conserves energy. Water funnels prey into predictable paths. A small fish moves along the edge. A crayfish crosses shallow ground. Stillness becomes a tool. It reminds us that raccoons are not only scavengers. They can behave as focused predators when conditions allow. Their teeth reflect their dietary flexibility. Raccoons possess molars capable of crushing tough plant matter and shells, as well as sharper teeth suited for gripping slippery prey. This combination allows them to process a wide range of textures efficiently. They can bite, crush, and finish quickly, reducing exposure in vulnerable feeding situations. Teeth are tools, and raccoons are equipped for variety. Their eyes contain a reflective layer that enhances night vision. Behind the retina lies a structure that reflects light back through the eye, increasing sensitivity in low-light conditions. This is why raccoon eyes sometimes shine brightly when illuminated. The benefit is subtle but powerful. They can detect small movements when the world is barely lit. It does not make them perfect night hunters. It gives them an advantage. They also see well at close range. Close vision helps guide precise paw movements. When manipulating objects or inspecting food, clear, short-distance sight supports accuracy. Their world is often within arm's reach, and their vision reflects that reality. They are not blindly feeling. They are combining touch and sight at close quarters. Their whiskers assist in navigating tight spaces. Whiskers extend sensory awareness beyond the skin. They detect air currents and measure gaps before the body commits to passage. In drains, brush piles, narrow crevices, whiskers reduce the risk of becoming stuck. They turn the face into a probing instrument. Raccoons often use the same latrine site repeatedly. This habit can concentrate parasites and create health risks in certain situations. From a biological perspective, repeated sites may serve communicative purposes. Scent accumulates. Information is exchanged without direct contact. However, in human areas, these sites require caution and proper hygiene. Wildlife carries ecological consequences along with fascination. Good hygiene after gardening or outdoor work in areas frequented by raccoons is wise. Washing hands, cleaning tools, and avoiding direct contact reduce risk without harming the animals. Distance protects both sides. And still, despite risks and conflicts, the story of the raccoon continues. They have scent glands that leave messages on trees and stones. To us, a tree trunk is simply bark. To a raccoon, it can be a message board. Scent glands allow them to leave chemical signals that communicate presence, status, and recent activity. In a mostly nocturnal world, scent becomes a powerful language. It reduces surprise encounters. It warns rivals. It can even signal readiness to mate. Another raccoon can approach, pause, sniff, and gather information without a direct confrontation. Who has been here? How recently? Is this space claimed? Their territory is not defined by visible fences. It is written in smell. They can move silently, then erupt into noise during conflict. A raccoon walking alone at night can be nearly invisible. Soft steps, long pauses, slow, deliberate movement through shadow. But if a dispute begins, the soundscape changes instantly. Growls, screeches, snarls, an explosion of volume from a relatively small body. This dramatic switch is strategic. Quiet protects. Noise intimidates. In a confrontation, sudden sound can make an opponent hesitate. It can also settle a dispute without prolonged physical fighting. That contrast, silent shadow one moment, fierce noise the next, is part of what makes raccoons so memorable. They learn from one another. Raccoons do not rely solely on trial and error. When one individual discovers a successful technique, others nearby may observe clues or replicate similar behaviors. A latch opened once may be tested by another. A feeder disturbed by one animal becomes an invitation to others. Knowledge spreads quietly. It is not formal teaching, it is imitation and shared opportunity. Over time, a new behavior can become common within a neighborhood. Young raccoons learn through play. Play is practice disguised as fun. Young raccoons wrestle, chase, climb, and grab objects repeatedly. While it may look chaotic, each tumble builds coordination. Each mock struggle teaches control. A bite that is too hard ends the game. A missed grip teaches adjustment. Through play, kids rehearse survival skills without full consequences. Intelligent animals often invest heavily in play. It builds a library of responses for future challenges. Raccoons are opportunists. If a new food source appears, they investigate quickly. A fallen fruit tree, a new compost bin, a shift in human routine. They sample possibilities, then repeat what works. Opportunism is not greed. It is responsiveness. It allows them to spread into new habitats and adjust when old resources vanish. Bird feeders can become scheduled stops. Once a raccoon identifies a feeder that reliably provides seeds, it may incorporate it into a nightly route. Timing becomes precise. If lights turn off at a certain hour, if dogs are brought indoors at another, the raccoon adapts accordingly. Efficiency increases with repetition. What looks like a sudden invasion may be one consistent visitor refining its technique night after night. They fish using both paws. In shallow water, raccoons may lower both front paws and sweep gently along the bottom. This increases coverage and control. If prey slips from one paw, the other blocks escape. It is not frantic splashing. It is tactile hunting. Touch guides the strike. Their paws are nimble enough to untie simple knots. In controlled demonstrations, raccoons have loosened simple knots by holding tension with one paw while manipulating strands with the other. This dexterity extends beyond curiosity. In the wild, nimble paws allow peeling bark, prying open shells, extracting hidden food. Barriers built for mouths and claws may fail against hands. They climb and dig with equal skill. Climbing grants access to fruit, nests, safe resting spots. Digging uncovers grubs, worms, hidden insects beneath soil and rotting wood. When branches produce less, the ground still offers calories. They investigate every level of their habitat, above, below, and between. They can squeeze through surprisingly small gaps. Despite their thick fur, raccoons are flexible. If the head fits, the body often follows. Shoulders compress. Ribs pass through narrow openings. This allows access to hollow trees, crawl spaces, attic gaps, and small structural weaknesses humans overlook. Tiny flaws become doorways. Their fur repels water. Guard hairs shed moisture, while dense underfur traps warmth. This allows raccoons to forage in streams, move through wet grass, and leave water without losing excessive body heat. Staying warm conserves energy. Energy is survival currency. Their coat color varies widely. While many imagine gray fur and a black mask, raccoons can range from pale blonde to nearly black. Color variation can influence camouflage in different environments. Sandy terrain, shadowed woods, snowy landscapes. Rare forms like leucism or melanism occasionally appear. These unusual colorations stand out, sometimes increasing risk, but also revealing hidden genetic diversity within populations. Evolution experiments quietly, sometimes visibly. Urban raccoons may grow heavier. City environments often provide calorie-dense food with less effort. Restaurant waste, trash bins, pet food. Energy becomes easier to access. Heavier bodies can result. But weight carries trade-offs. Reduced agility, increased heat stress, greater dependence on human food. Abundance reshapes bodies as well as behavior. In wild habitats, raccoons often remain leaner. Natural foraging requires movement and persistence. Covering larger areas builds endurance. Lean does not mean weak. It often means efficient. Wild raccoons manage entire landscapes rather than single, easy feeding sites. Their life is risky. Roads fragment territories. Vehicles move quickly at night. Dogs chase. Predators stalk. Disease spreads where animals congregate. Because of these hazards, many raccoons do not reach old age. Flexibility keeps the species successful, but individual lives remain precarious. In protected environments, raccoons can live well over a decade. Reduced traffic, fewer predators, stable food. Longevity increases. Longer life means more experience, more learned routes, better decision-making. An older raccoon carries a map of storms, seasonal changes, and safe refuges. Road traffic is one of their greatest modern threats. Roads cut through feeding areas and water sources. Food sometimes accumulates near them, drawing raccoons closer. Young individuals are especially vulnerable while learning routes. Highways create a risk that never sleeps. Dogs also pose danger. Chase instincts can trigger sudden confrontations. A raccoon may escape by climbing, but not every environment provides immediate refuge. Responsible pet management reduces conflict for both species. Coyotes and bobcats prey on raccoons. Predator presence shapes behavior even when encounters are rare. Scent alone can alter routes and timing. Raccoons are not fearless. They are calculating. Great horned owls can take young raccoons. Threats do not only approach from the ground. Young kits exploring exposed branches may become vulnerable to aerial predators. The night is layered with risk from multiple directions. Raccoons can carry rabies. They may appear calm or curious, but they remain wild animals. Never handle them. Never attempt close contact. Respectful distance is safest for both humans and raccoons. They can also carry canine distemper and parasites. Vaccinating pets, securing food, and practicing hygiene reduce transmission risk. Wildlife health and human health intersect. Distance and prevention protect everyone. Securing trash is one of the simplest conflict solutions. Remove the reward and the behavior fades. Tight lids, proper storage, and consistency break learned patterns. Leaving pet food outside can turn one visitor into many. Predictable calories attract not only raccoons, but additional wildlife. Simple boundaries prevent larger issues. Blocking entry points early prevents denning in homes. Small gaps along roofs, vents, or chimneys become access points. Seal them early, and raccoons seek shelter elsewhere. Prevention is calmer than removal. Raccoons are native across much of North America. From forests to coasts, wetlands to mountains, they fill many ecological roles. Their wide range reflects flexibility. They have also been introduced to parts of Europe and Japan. In regions without natural controls, populations can grow quickly, impacting local species. An adaptable animal placed in a new ecosystem can become a powerful ecological force. Raccoons reshape ecosystems by raiding nests. Eggs represent concentrated nutrition. When raccoon numbers increase, nest losses may rise. They are not malicious. They are opportunistic. Ecological impact is about interaction, not intent. They are strong enough to flip heavy lids. Motivation fuels strength. Bracing with body weight, gripping with both paws, raccoons can apply surprising leverage. Compact bodies do not mean weak ones. Curiosity drives investigation of anything new. A moved object, a new smell, fresh landscaping. They approach, test, and update their understanding of the neighborhood. They can learn trash schedules. Human routines become predictable food events. A weekly pickup day becomes a recurring opportunity. Memory meets pattern recognition. Researchers use puzzle boxes to study raccoon cognition. Sliding latches, sequential mechanisms. Raccoons explore persistently. Cities, in many ways, are giant puzzle boxes. Raccoons show remarkable persistence. They probe, adjust, return later, try again from a different angle. Persistence turns barriers into lessons. They adapt to people, but still need wild space. Parks, river corridors, wooded strips provide refuge and reduce conflict. Without natural spaces, raccoons are pushed into riskier human contact. Adaptation does not mean independence from nature. Their bodies are built for climbing more than long-distance sprinting. Short legs, strong joints, steady balance. Perfect for vertical navigation. They are small mountaineers with hands. They stand briefly on hind legs to scan surroundings. This posture increases visibility and scent detection. It is information gathering in motion. They pause to listen, then pivot instantly. Freezing mid-step, focusing on a faint sound, then turning sharply toward it. Decision-making in real time. They are not wandering blindly. They are actively reading the night. Raccoons excel at pattern learning. Doors that swing one way, gates that click before opening. They notice repeated rules and use them. Learning patterns reduces guesswork. They can generalize lessons. One latch solution may inspire attempts on another latch. One hidden food discovery encourages checking other covers. Cognitive flexibility speeds adaptation in new environments. In extreme cold, some males may share dens. Shared body heat conserves energy. It is practicality, not sentiment. Females raising young usually prefer solitude. Privacy increases control and reduces risk. Motherhood reshapes social tolerance. Breeding occurs once a year, timed for warmer months. Young arrive when resources increase. Biological timing aligns with environmental opportunity. Litter sizes often average around 4. Each litter balances risk and resource availability. More young mean more mouths, but also more chances for survival. Kits begin exploring outside the den after several weeks. First steps are cautious and clumsy. Exploration becomes education. Mothers defend their young fiercely. Warning sounds escalate to teeth and claws if necessary. Protection is instinctive and immediate. Early diet begins with milk. Gradually, soft foods are introduced. Taste and smell become lessons. Young raccoons practice climbing repeatedly. Small falls teach balance and caution. Practice transforms awkward kits into confident climbers. They rely heavily on smell. Every breath gathers information. Food, predators, other raccoons, all leave invisible trails. Their footprints resemble small human hands. 5 long toes and a clear palm pad create distinctive tracks. The ground records their passage like a signature. They can hunt in water using touch alone. Darkness becomes advantage rather than obstacle. Coastal raccoons may specialize in shellfish. Different environments create different raccoon lifestyles. Some become expert garden raiders. Timing corn ripeness precisely reflects learned strategy. Despite strong jaws, they prefer easy meals. Conflict wastes energy. Efficiency defines survival. In folklore, raccoons appear as clever tricksters. Stories reflect real observations of adaptability and intelligence. Their pelts were once valuable in the fur trade. Human economies shaped raccoon history. The raccoon hat became a cultural symbol, an animal transformed into icon. They travel across roofs and fences like highways. Height offers safety and efficiency. Patience often wins them food. Waiting for lights to turn off or dogs to retreat is strategic timing. They can recognize individual rivals. Past encounters shape future behavior. They avoid bright light when possible, but food can outweigh caution. Risk is calculated. And through it all, raccoon success rests on brains, hands, and adaptability. No single trait explains their persistence. Together, intelligence, dexterity, and flexibility allow them to thrive at the edges of human life. Часть 5. Заключение. And so we return to the quiet image that began our journey. A small masked figure moving through shadow, pausing beneath a tree, listening to something we cannot hear. By now, that figure may feel different. Not a nuisance, not a cartoon thief, not simply a backyard visitor, but a mind at work. Raccoons are not the strongest animals in their habitats. They are not the fastest over long distances. They do not dominate through size or intimidation. They survive through something subtler. They survive by noticing. They notice patterns. They notice schedules. They notice small changes in sound, scent, and texture. They notice which lid opens, which branch bends, which yard offers food on Thursdays. And then they remember. Intelligence, in their case, is not abstract. It is practical. It is the difference between hunger and safety, between risk and reward. Their hands are not merely paws. They are instruments, sensitive, precise, endlessly curious. With them, raccoons read the world the way we read books, page by page, surface by surface. Their memory turns experience into strategy. Their flexibility turns obstacles into puzzles. Their persistence turns failure into information. And perhaps that is what makes them so compelling. They live at the border between forest and suburb, between wild and human-made, between caution and curiosity. Few animals adapt so fluidly to our presence. Fewer still manage to do so while remaining unmistakably wild. Even now, somewhere beyond the window, one may be moving silently along a fence line, navigating rooftops like narrow bridges, slipping down tree trunks head first with steady confidence. It is not plotting, it is not scheming, it is simply responding to hunger, to memory, to opportunity. In a world that changes rapidly, adaptability becomes its own form of wisdom. Raccoons remind us that survival is not always about force. Sometimes it is about paying attention. And as we slow down tonight, as your breathing grows softer and your thoughts drift further apart, perhaps you can imagine that quiet, moonlit landscape. Leaves shifting gently, water moving in a slow current, a pair of reflective eyes scanning the dark. No rush, no noise, just awareness. The raccoon does not worry about tomorrow's headlines or distant futures. It moves within the present moment, guided by senses sharpened by evolution and shaped by experience. There is something calming in that. To adapt without panic, to observe before reacting, to learn from mistakes without carrying them as weight. Perhaps that is why stories of clever animals endure across cultures. They reflect something we recognize: intelligence not as dominance, but as flexibility. And now, as this story settles, you can let it fade gently into the background. The masked wanderer continues its quiet rounds. The night remains deep and steady, and you can rest. Thank you for drifting through this sleepy exploration of raccoons with me. If you enjoyed this calm journey into the science of the natural world, you're always welcome to return for another. There are endless stories waiting in forests, oceans, skies, and even in the quiet corners of our own neighborhoods. But for now, there is nothing left to learn, only rest. Let the night hold you.